Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Friday, 13 February. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Japan has seized a Chinese fishing vessel for the first time since 2022. South Africa's president is deploying the army to combat crime, and Switzerland is voting on capping the country's population at 10 million people. So firstly, Japan said it has seized a Chinese fishing vessel and arrested its captain for allegedly fleeing inspection in the nation's exclusive economic zone, adding to tensions between the two countries. The Japanese fishing agency said that the vessel's captain was ordered to stop for inspection by fisheries inspectors, but the vessel failed to comply and fled. Japan said the boat was seized in waters off southwest Nagasaki Prefecture. There were 10 people on board, besides the captain. While Japan has seized fishing vessels from South Korea and Taiwan in recent years, the incident is the first involving a Chinese vessel since 2022. So what? I think this is highly likely a sign of the current state of relations between Japan and China, which have been heightened in recent months due to a number of political disagreements, and they go back to historic issues around the Sino Wars. But yeah, China routinely uses their fishing fleet as a kind of gray zone operation to push into or test other countries' willingness to push back against them, and also plunder resource and take an economic advantage. There was some other interesting reporting recently that Allcon covered where Chinese fishing vessels were noticed on trackers to line up into shapes and conduct essentially drill in ships, which was pretty crazy to see in videos. So I don't know if you haven't seen that, go check it out. And yeah, it's almost certain that this is just going to increase tensions between the two countries, which are already extremely heightened. Actually, that's what it goes back to. It goes back to the Taiwan thing. Japan said openly that they would fight against China if they attempted to seize Taiwan. So yeah, that's kind of the crux. And yeah, it's definitely not going anywhere anytime soon. And next, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa pledged to deploy soldiers to fight the nation's massive crimes crisis alongside police. Organised crime is now the most immediate threat to their democracy, our society, and our economic development, Ramaphosa said in his State of the Union address on Thursday. He promised that additional forces would deploy in the next few days. The cost of crime is measured in lives that are lost and the futures that are cut short. It felt also in a sense of fear that permeates in our society and the reluctance of businesses to invest, Ramaphosa said. As of 2026, online database Numbeo found that, I don't know how to say that one, Pretoria, Johannesburg, Durban, and Port Elizabeth are the top 5 most dangerous cities in South Africa, with international tourist hotspots Cape Town coming in at 6th. So what? To me, this kind of feels like a bit of a late move, and I'd be interested to look into what the background into this speech and this kind of change in policy is all about, as you know, the crime and violence within South Africa has been as a well-known thing for tens of years now, at least. You have literally, that's what I completely understand it to be all about. That crime, especially violent crime, is extremely common, and people that I know from South Africa say as such. So yeah, it seems, why now is kind of the question. Maybe there's no one else to blame. He's been in power for so long that, he has to kind of take ownership of this and try and deal with it himself. But yeah, to me, it's an interesting admittance from the government relating to the state of the country, which, has been in decline for several years now. It's not just around crime, but around infrastructure and stuff like that. One of the other things I wanted to cover is corruption. So while violent crime is a significant factor within the country, corruption is also a huge issue. So, just clearing out criminals is not going to solve all of the problems. How this all gets paid for, how things get repaired, is also going to be a significant factor. So yeah, And the last point is it's going to be a long road, and I'm not sure this is something that is so easy to fix. Just deploying the military is not going to change the situation. Crime within South Africa is a significant issue. So, yeah, I don't know if it'll be achieved anytime soon. And lastly, Switzerland is to hold a referendum on whether the country will cap its population at 10 million. The No to 10 Million Switzerland initiative was put forward by a right-wing anti-immigration party. The proposal has received enough signatures to be put to a vote, the government said on Wednesday, and will go to the ballot box on June 14th. Switzerland has become home to 9.1 million people. People from abroad, mostly European Union countries, are believed to be around 30% of the population. So what? This is it. Like, to me, this is interesting because this is a problem. Overcrowding, overpopulation, overuse of services, housing, etc., is a problem that is facing most Western countries at this stage, and it's leading to like economic issues, social issues, and it's causing a rise in like right-wing politics, mostly around the anti-immigration stance that we're seeing here. So yeah, I think it's something that's going to be likely watched by the rest of the West because it's a different way of framing the solution rather than being like no foreigners allowed or no more like we're going to deport X amount of people. It's like, no, this is where we're going to draw the line, and we won't go past there. So it's like, I don't know, a different way of kind of framing the problem. What this means for like economic growth is going to be a challenge because the way countries look at economic growth is like you continue year on year to make more money through quite often a rising population or rising technology, something else like that. But so it's generally looked at like you need to get more and more people to continue to grow your country's monetary value. So Switzerland obviously trying to look at it from a different angle, which is interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how it's seen if it passes the vote. Is going to be the first kind of hurdle, and if it does, how it actually works out, and whether it'll be replicated in other countries, because I think it's a different way of looking at the problem and one that seems more palatable to a normal person rather than like, we don't want foreigners here, or we're full, which is the Australian slogan. It's like, no, this is the size of our country. This is how many people we want to live here. No other people are allowed it. So yeah, I don't know. An interesting take and one that could become popular if, things change. Anyway, that's been your Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again on Monday. See you.